26th of May 2025, and just early morning we had a very large storm, and it took the main Wi-Fi tower down in Govardhan. So they say it will take 4 or 5 days to repair. So now I'm working with mobile data, no Wi-Fi. I don't know how that will be received, what sort of reception you'll get. It might be drawn out, etc. So Krishna is in control. Actually, Sri Radhika is definitely in control. So this is our situation today. But we'll carry on and see how we go. Agyan timirandasya gyananjala shalakaya chakshu unmilitam jena tasmai Shri Guruve namaha. Guruve Gauda Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tara Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Shri Caitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swavadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Satrajatam Sahagana Rakanpitam Tam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadbhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahalalita Shiva Shakam becomes Cha Priya Sarupe, Daita Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahajavi Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhuveka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavilasa Rupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kuranavartanokalo Samarapaitam Unnata Ujjala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundarata Tikadam Vasatipita Sadakradare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha Yam Pravajanta Manapetyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Taravo Vinedustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptasya Karmadi Taranga Madhye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Prinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Bharadram Tatam Mamanastikatina Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Naivam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions of Dandavat Pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Adi-lila Pravishta Om Astol Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Adi-lila Pravishta Om Astol Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again, I'm offering my Dandavat Pranams to our glorious Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Pad, who has given us this immaculate compilation. And I'm offering my profound Dandavats to all our Rupanuga Guru Varga and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat Pranams to all of you. Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhuvevacha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. So coming to our subject matter, Chapter 4, Caitanya Caritamrta. And we've come through the spiritual masters in the first chapter. We've established that Mahaprabhu is none other than that Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna in the second chapter. Third chapter, we discuss the external reasons for Mahaprabhu's advent, the loud calling of the Vaitracharya, and Krishna to deliver the holy name, to empower the holy name. And now we've come to the fourth chapter, which is packed with so much amazing siddhant and truths. It's giving us the absolute clearest conception of what is our goal. Our goal is to follow the anugatya of the gopis. The gopis are the abodes of love. The love begins from the hearts of the gopis, attraction for Krishna. Krishna is the object. And Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is writing many, many glorifications of the gopis' prem. It's this gopis' prem that Mahaprabhu wants to taste and experience. The chief gopi, of course, being Sri Radhika. This is the aim and object of our lives, is to appreciate the gopis of Braj. They are the repositories of love. The prem begins from their hearts. They have more prem for Krishna than Krishna has for them. Krishna will reciprocate with their prem, but the prem, we can say, is initiated from the hearts of the Brajadevis, the Brajaramanis. So therefore, all these verses, many, many verses we've been going through already, about the glorious nature of the gopis' prem for Krishna, this powerful, niravada, immaculate love, completely in contrast to lust. Lust is like iron, and prem is like gold. So Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada have been repeatedly drawing this distinction. We are tatashta jivas, so we go from one side to the other side. But we should understand that this highest conclusion is only based on the love that the gopis have for Krishna. And Krishna is reciprocating with that love. And then again, the gopis will become more intense with their love by Krishna's reciprocation. And so it will go on repeatedly. But Mahaprabhu has come to taste this prem. He's come in a mood of a Sakhi. He's taken the Bhav and Kanti of Sri Radhika, so he can taste something of this immaculate love, this Unnata Ujjvala Ras, manifesting from the heart of Radhika. So from his own heart, he's Radha and Krishna combined. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritya Hladini Shakti Asma. He's always Krishna, essentially, but he's carrying the Bhav, which practically speaking we can say is the entirety of Sri Radhika. He's carrying this mood, these moods of Sri Radhika, and he becomes so immersed. His desire is to become the Ashraya. The Ashraya is Radhika, the taster, the one from whose heart this attraction for the object, Krishna, is manifesting. So this is what this fourth chapter is about. And it's completely, there's nothing more beautiful than this description, because it's the summum bonum of our path, is to understand this Gopi Anugatya. We are in the Anugatya, we are following the direction of the gopis and their love for Krishna. So we'll begin hearing these remarkable pastimes. So the last thing, or one of the last things we read, I'm just going to go back a few verses, was in verse 179, where it was described, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda. So again, 179. Se Pratigyana Banga Hoile Gopir Bhajan Ihate Pramana Krishna Shri Mukha Vachan. Translation: that promise has been broken by the worship of the gopis, as Lord Krishna himself admits. So remember, his promise was in the Bhagavad Gita, Ye Yata Mam Prapadyante, that he will reciprocate with his devotees according to their prem, according to their love. But he failed when it came to the gopis. And he apologizes in the most beautiful way, begs forgiveness from the gopis, melts their hearts completely, The gopis have just sung out their hearts in this Gopi Geet, this divine song of separation, in the 32nd chapter of this 10th canto. And now Krishna returns and he chants this beautiful verse, Na paryeham nirabadya samyujam swasadu krityam vibhudisyapiva yamabhajan durja geha shrinkala sangvishchaya tadva pratiyatu sadhana. O gopis, I am not able to repay my debt for your spotless service. This spotless, this niravada, it's described. This niravada samyujam, completely free from any type of duplicity or deceit. This is prem, and we have been contrasting it to lust so that we can understand where this prem sits. In the material world, we only have experience of this mundane lust. So we need to have the contrast. We need to understand the depth and degradation of this material lust in comparison to the sweetness and speciality of prem. So understand, we described this last time. My debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma, your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties, which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. So this is a very famous verse. This is in the 32nd chapter. This is after the Gopi Geet has been sung in the 31st chapter. So this verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:32-22, was spoken by Shri Krishna himself when he returned to the gopis upon hearing their songs of separation. So all of these pastimes, the devotees want to immerse ourselves in these pastimes from the 10th canto, and so we can appreciate the true identity of Mahaprabhu, and then we can more appreciate the gift that Mahaprabhu has given. I've discussed many times in the past the history from 5,000 years previously. Where was that current of bhakti coming from 5,000 years ago? I've described it comes through the Alwars, initially in South India, and then it comes through, and then Lord Buddha advents. And there's great fragmentation, you can say, of the focus of the goal. Lord Buddha, he takes the focus away from worshipping directly that Supreme Person to worshipping the impersonal aspect, so as to stop the Brahmanas from performing these cow sacrifices where they were eating the meat. Lord Buddha comes to preach the philosophy of ahimsa, non-violence. And then after Lord Buddha comes a second Buddha, Sakya Singha Buddha, who preaches just direct impersonal knowledge of Brahman, etc., Nirvana. And then comes Sankaracharya, bringing things back to a scriptural basis and foundation. Lord Buddha pushed the scriptures out of India. Sankaracharya brings them back, but he still maintains that Advaitavad, that oneness, that Mayavad conception. Sankaracharya is described sometimes as covered Buddhism, but it's covered with the injunctions from the Vedas, the Mahavakyas, etc., Aham Brahmasmi, these four truths that he pulled out of the Vedas, but they still proclaiming a Mayavad context. And then we get the four Sampradayas, Ramanuja, Madhvacharya, Vallabha Acharya, Nimbaditya, and they are gradually coming more and more and more to this personal conception, especially in Madhvacharya's line, because we have the great saint Madhavendra Puri in this line. So I'm referencing this to bring us up to speed with where we are now, because all that we have now is the result of Mahaprabhu's mercy, hearing about these topics, because up until Mahaprabhu, there was no real description of these pastimes in Vrindavan. there was an understanding to some degree, but not a clear understanding of what is Parakiya. Jayadeva Goswami, Vichapasati, etc., Chandidas, they described these things to some degree, Bilva Mangala Thakur, but the essence of Parakiya could not be properly explained until Mahaprabhu himself comes and substantiates what is Parakiya. Very hard for pure-hearted Vaishnavas to accept this unwedded relationship that Krishna has with the gopis. But only with the advent of Mahaprabhu can this be understood clearly. So Mahaprabhu, through his emissaries, through his sevaks, particularly Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami in particular, all these personalities, and now Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, they are taking the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and they're giving this to us in a very clear way. These are very high topics, but by practicing this immaculate Mahamantra and under the guidance of a Mahabhagavat Guru, under the guidance of our Guru Varga, we can come into this line and begin to appreciate the nature of the gopis' prem, because that's our topic. This is what Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj is giving us. So now we have 181 text. Tabayeda kiya gopira nija deha prita sehota krishnera lagi janhiha nishchita. Now whatever affection we see the gopis show for their own bodies, know it for certain to be only for the sake of Lord Krishna. Now we come back up to where we were before. Purport: the selfless love of Godhead exhibited by the gopis cannot have any parallel, no parallel. The highest exhibition of love ever demonstrated on this planet was by the gopis. They are the abodes of that love for the object of Krishna. We should not therefore misunderstand the carefulness of the gopis in their personal decorations. The gopis dress themselves as beautifully as possible just to make Krishna happy by seeing them. They had no ulterior desires. They dedicated their bodies and everything they possessed to the service of Sri Krishna, taking it for granted that their bodies were meant for his enjoyment. This takes it out of the lustful realm. Lust means our own personal enjoyments. We've spoken many times. This is the perverted reflection of the spiritual reality. The spiritual reality is all focused on the object of attraction, who is Krishna. This material world is focused on my exploiting the resources, etc., for my pleasure. This is all under the heading of lust. This is what lust means, that I want to taste that. They dress themselves with the understanding that Krishna would be happy by seeing and touching them. They've given their lives for Krishna. Text 182. Edeha kailuna ami Krishna sampana tanra dana tanra iha samboga sadana. Translation: the gopis think, I have offered this body to Lord Krishna. He is its owner, and it brings him enjoyment. Such exhilaration they feel in their service to Krishna. This is their prem. Text 183. E deha darshana sparshe Krishna santoshana e lagi kare dehar marjana bhushana. Krishna finds joy in seeing and touching this body. It is for this reason that they cleanse and decorate their bodies. Text 184. Nijanangam api agopya mameti samupashyate tabya param name parata niguda prema bhajanam. Translation: O Arjun, there is no greater receptacles of deep love for me than the gopis. They hold that love. Who cleanse and decorate their bodies because they consider them mine. This should be our object of meditation for the rest of our lives. The nature of the gopis' prem. Purport. This verse is spoken by Lord Krishna in the Adi Purana. Text 85. Are eka adbhuta gopi barve svabhav budhira kochara nahe yahara prabhav. Translation. There is another wonderful feature of the emotion of the gopis. Its power is beyond the comprehension of the intelligence. It's achintya, what we're hearing now. But it's been given to us for our meditation and contemplation and appreciation. Text 186. Gopi gana kareya be Krishna darshana sukha vansha nahi sukha hoya koti gana guna. Translation. When the gopis see Lord Krishna, they derive unbounded bliss, although they have no desire for such pleasure. We have to be thinking this. Krishna's not going to be attracted to us if we're miserable. If we're completely joyful about the prospects of meeting with Krishna, excited to meet him, we've decorated our bodies, etc., to meet him, that's going to be a stimulation for Krishna. So naturally, they feel some pleasure. But this is what's going to be explained, the increasing pleasure. Text 187. Gopika darshane Krishna ye ananda hoy, taha hoite koti guna gopi aswadaya. Translation. The gopis taste a pleasure 10 million times greater than the pleasure Lord Krishna derives from seeing them. 10 million times. Purport. The wonderful characteristics of the gopis are beyond imagination. It's this verse from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati describes the nature of prem is beyond imagination, heavy with wonder, and shining in the heart with pure goodness. Such is the condition of prem, beyond imagination, heavy with wonder, and shining in the heart with absolute purity. This is the nature of prem. When we hear these topics, it can give us the enthusiasm to attain that state, rather than the enthusiasm to become liberated from our material predicament. Because it's a very thin line for the sadhak. My Gurudev described as very critical. We want pleasure, but if we look for the pleasure in the Brahman, it's billions of times inferior to the pleasure of serving the gopis and connecting with their moods, which is possible by the mercy of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. The wonderful characteristics of the gopis are beyond imagination. They have no desire for personal satisfaction, yet when Krishna is happy by seeing them, that happiness of Krishna makes the gopis 1,000,000 times more happy than Krishna himself. Tan sabara nahi nija sukha anurodha tatapi bodhaya sukha Adi-lila virodha. Translation. The gopis have no inclination for their own enjoyment. This is the contradiction that Krishna's Kaviraj is giving us. And yet, their joy increases. That is indeed a contradiction. They don't want, that's not their intention. Like when they hear the sound of Krishna's flute, how did that sound penetrate their ears? That sound was saying, come to me now. I am ready to leave my body unless you come to me. They went to satisfy Krishna. Krishna was calling them. They didn't run to satisfy themselves at all. Not even at all. It's very hard for the conditioned soul to appreciate this point, because we're brought up with only the focus on satisfying myself from birth. Not just this birth, but billions of births. How are we going to change that around?
How are we going to change that selfish focus to the selfless focus? By hearing these topics, they have the power. These topics have the power to actually influence the heart, completely coupled with the sound vibration of the holy name. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. These processes of bhakti, they have so much power. If we have that faith, that Shraddha Shabde Vishvasa Koi, Sudrita Nishchoy, unflinching, completely bound up faith, then gradually these immaculate, unimaginable topics will become clear to us and we'll be able to embrace them. We have to understand them in the mental quantum first, and then we bring that into the heart where it mixes with the Hladini, and then realization of these topics will come. It takes time. We must be patient. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, what is the first requirement in bhajan? The first requirement is patience. It's not going to happen like fast foods, like all the speed of the internet that we get. Actually, now we've got no internet. We're running on mobile data, as I explained in the beginning, but I don't think you even heard that because it wasn't registering. But the tower went down in Govardhan today because there was a big storm yesterday. So, but this speed, you know, is what the mind has become distorted with in this age. But it comes back to its swabhav, to its real nature of ability to contemplate when we drink the beverage of the holy name in a very focused way, regularly, daily. When we take that beverage deeply, then the mind will become graver, calmer, and then we'll be able to hear these truths. Text 189.
E virodera ekamatra teki samadan, gopikara sukha Krishna sukhe pavarsan.
Translation. For this contradiction, the contradiction of the gopis not seeking pleasure, but they get 10 million times pleasure than Krishna gets. It's a contradiction, isn't it? For this contradiction, I see only one solution. The joy of the gopis lies in the joy of their beloved Krishna. Krishna becomes filled with joy when he sees the gopis' beauty, sweetness, Sharanagat, moods, everything about their attraction for him melts him. And when the gopis perceive that, their prem increases exponentially. And then Krishna's joy will also increase, reflecting that. Purport. The situation of the gopis is perplexing, for although they do not want personal happiness, it was imposed upon them. The solution to this perplexity is that Sri Krishna's sense of happiness is limited by the happiness of the gopis. As far as the gopis' happiness is concerned, that's practically limitless. But it's limited when they come in front of Krishna, and it becomes that limitless ocean in its connection with Krishna. The solution to this perplexity is that Krishna's sense of happiness is limited by the happiness of the gopis. The gopis at Vrindavan, therefore, devotees at Vrindavan, therefore, try to serve the gopis, namely Radharani and her associates. When we're talking about the gopis all the time, we're remembering Sri Radhika. When we're talking about Sakhi Bhav, we're remembering prominently Sri Radhika. Mahaprabhu is in Sakhi Bhav, this Gopi Bhav. This is our mood. We must not deny it. We must not try and cover it up and think that I shouldn't discuss this or talk about it. We should talk about it in a correct manner, not in a sensational manner that brings it into the mundane sphere. If we try to bring it into the mundane sphere, these are internal topics. The title of the chapter is The Confidential Reasons for the Lord's Appearance. This mood is internal, not external. When we try to externalize it, it's just going to become perverted again and called Sahajiyism. So we must be very cautious with this. Take it into our hearts and relish it under the guidance of Srila Rupa Goswami Pad and all the other Goswamis. If one gains the favor of the gopis, he easily gains the favor of Krishna, because on the recommendation of the gopis, Krishna at once accepts the service of a devotee. Krishna has accepted the service, Mahaprabhu, as a devotee, as a covered incarnation. Lord Chaitanya therefore wanted to please the gopis instead of Krishna. Mahaprabhu wants to please the gopis. He's calling for Krishna because he's in the mood of a gopi. He's in the mood of a Sakhi. He's in the mood of Shri Radhika. So he's calling for Krishna. But still he's in that Sakhi bhav. But his contemporaries misunderstood him. And for this reason, Lord Chaitanya renounced the order of household life and became a sannyasi. Remember the pastime? Mahaprabhu is chanting Gopi, Gopi, Gopi. And some students see him chanting like that. They think he's gone pagal, gone mad. And they condemn him. Mahaprabhu becomes very angry, picks up a stick, chases them. Then all those students gather together and they decide that they want to actually hurt Mahaprabhu, that he shouldn't chase Brahmins because they were Brahmin boys. And they decided that they would actually attack him. So Mahaprabhu realized this, and then he realized simultaneously, this is not the purpose of my incarnation. I haven't come to agitate people. I've come to give this highest conception of prema. So at this point, Mahaprabhu decides, at this very point, Mahaprabhu decides to take the sannyas order in order not to disrupt the minds, because he wants to taste that gopi bhav, that gopi prema. He becomes overwhelmed with that mood. It's not fully blossomed yet in Navadvip. It gets fully blossomed at the Godavari with Ramananda Rai, Vishaka, igniting up this Sakhi bhav for him. Text 190. Gopish Gopika Darshane Krishnera Bada Prafulata E Madura Bade Bade Yare Nahika Samata. Translation. When Lord Krishna sees the gopis, his joy increases and his unparalleled sweetness increases also. We can understand this even with our material minds. By looking at something beautiful, we also reflect back that beauty, and we also become beautiful by observing that. But in the mundane sense, we are looking for that self-pleasure, that sense pleasure. Whereas in the transcendental state, they're only exclusively trying to please Krishna at every moment. Text 191. Amara darshane Krishna poila eta sukha e sukhe gopir prafula angamukha. Translation. The gopis think Krishna has obtained so much pleasure by seeing me. That thought increases the fullness and beauty of their faces and bodies. They're aware that Krishna is so much attracted to them. That increases their attraction. When Krishna sees that increased attraction, he becomes more attracted to them. 192. Gopi Shobha Deki Krishna Shobha Badayata Krishna Shobha Deki Gopir Shobha Badatata. The beauty of Krishna increases at the sight of the beauty of the gopis. And the more the gopis see Lord Krishna's beauty, the more their beauty increases. This is the secret that Krishna's Kaviraj is explaining. 193. E mata paraspara pade huda hudi paraspara bode keha mukha nahi mudi. Translation. In this way, a competition takes place between them, in which no one acknowledges defeat. It's going on. Still going on. 194. Kintu Krishnar sukha hoya gopi rupa guna Tandra sukhe sukha vridi hoya gopi gana. Krishna, however, derives pleasure from the beauty and good qualities of the gopis. And when the gopis see his pleasure, the joy of the gopis increases. This is all about Gopi Bhav, the love that they have for Krishna. This is our goal and object. Krishna's Kaviraj so generously, compassionately is giving it directly. Mahaprabhu has come for this, but coming through Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami is that one who has elucidated this point. He's explained this in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Vidagdha Madhav, Lalita Madhav, etc. He was the mouthpiece for Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu only gave the Shikshastikam verses and his own example of his life, trying to taste this Gopi Prem. Text 195.
Ataiva se sukha Krishna sukha poshe, ehuta gopi prem nahi karma doshe.
Translation. Therefore we find that the joy of the gopis nourishes the joy of Lord Krishna. For that reason, the fault of lust is not present in their love, because neither is trying to enjoy themselves. Both are taking pleasure entirely in the other. Krishna takes his pleasure entirely in seeing the gopis' pleasure. The gopis take their pleasure entirely by seeing the pleasure of Krishna. This is selfless from both sides. Purport. By looking at the beautiful gopis, Krishna becomes enlivened, and this enlivens the gopis, whose youthful faces and bodies blossom. This competition of increasing beauty between the gopis and Krishna, which is without limitations, is so delicate that sometimes mundane moralists mistake these dealings to be purely amorous. It's nothing to do with this material world. When we say material, every time we say material, we can translate it for selfish. Selfishness. That's the meaning of lust. Whereas this selfless, this is the spiritual nature. But these affairs are not at all mundane, because the gopis' intense desire to satisfy Krishna surcharges the entire scene with pure love of God. This romantic experience between Krishna and the Brajadevis completely makes the Vrindavan picture, the Vrindavan atmosphere, surcharged with so much prem and beauty. Vrindavan is already Madhurya Ras. What we're describing is Shringara Ras, which is even beyond this Madhurya Ras. And we know the backdrop is Parakiya. It's secret even in Braj. It's confidential in Braj. The Sakas don't know that their wives are going every night. Yogamaya has made replicas of their wives to sit beside them. Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba, they have no idea. When Mother Yashoda sees the marks, scratch marks from Krishna's amorous engagements, then she thinks that he's been wrestling with the cowherd boys. Madhu Mangal even says in front of Mother Yashoda, oh, this is from his consorting with the gopis. First thing in the morning when Mother Yashoda comes in, her prem, Vatsalya prem, just pouring out of her breasts in the form of milk, wanting to nourish her darling Lala. And she sees all these scratch marks on his body from his night's romantic engagements. Madhu Mangal is there. And he's telling Mother Yashoda straight to her face, this is caused by the gopis. Mother Yashoda doesn't believe that for a moment. My Lala, he's still taking breast milk. How can he even think of romantic engagements with the gopis? And then Krishna frowns at Madhu Mangal. Madhu Mangal changes his story. He says, yes, yes, this is from our fighting in the forest every day. So this goes on. But nobody knows this nature of the gopis' prem, even in Braj. It's only known to the gopis themselves and to Krishna, and to some very selective Priyanam Sakas, Madhu Mangal, Subal. These are very selective personalities. They know something of this, but no one else knows. It's confidential. It's still confidential. The mood of Mahaprabhu is confidentiality all the way through his pastimes. That means internal. That means the devotees must take this truth inside to relish. And how do we do that? By applying ourselves to the following the nature of what is bhajan. Bhaja means to worship. Bhajan means to sit and perform this worship. So this is our aim and object, to meditate on these topics. By looking at the beautiful gopis, Krishna becomes enlivened, and this enlivens the gopis, whose youthful faces and bodies blossom. This competition of increasing beauty between the gopis and Krishna, which is without limitations, is so delicate that sometimes mundane moralists mistake these dealings to be purely amorous. But these affairs are not at all mundane, because the gopis' intense desire to satisfy Krishna surcharges the entire scene with pure love of Godhead, with not a spot of sexual indulgence. Nothing to do with the bodily platform whatsoever. The material sensation, sensual pleasures, not on that level. We have to realize this. Text 196.
Upetyapati sundari tatibir abir abhyachitam smitanku karambitai natad apanga bangi shatai stanas stavaka sancharan nayan chanchara karachalam braje vijayinam braje vina vipina deshata keshavam.
I worship Lord Keshava. Coming back from the forest of Braj, he is worshipped by the gopis, who mount the roofs of their palaces and meet him on the path with 100 manners of dancing glances and gentle smiles. The corners of his eyes wander like large black bees around the gopis' breasts. Very beautiful description by Rupa Goswami. This statement appears in Keshava Astakam of the Stavamala compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami. If these personalities like Rupa Goswami so renounced, Sanatana Goswami so renounced, Raghunath Das, the embodiment of renunciation, not a tinge of sexual desire or sensual direction in them, they are the ones who are most attracted to this, hearing these pastimes. They're writing these pastimes to pull us into this conception. But understand one thing, there's Saki Bhav. Those Sakis we described the other day, they have this Sambhog Ichamayi. They have the blessings of the Adhikar to actually consort with Krishna directly. This is Sambhog. Sambhog means connection, to enjoy. Directly with Krishna, directly. But the Manjaris, who are like Rupa Manjari, Sanatana Goswami's Lavanga Manjari, Jiva Goswami, Vilas Manjari, these are all Raghunath Das, Rati Manjari. These are all Manjaris. They're all manifesting from Sri Radhika's Kaya Vyuha to please Brajendanandan Shamsundar. They all have the same seed of urgent desire just for Krishna's pleasure. Billions of them. Hakaya Vyuha. And the Manjaris, they also manifest from Sri Radhika. But they have a different type of mood. It's called Bhavolas. This Bhavolas mood is when they're practically their Staibhav, their permanent emotion is just to please Radhika. They manifest with this emotion, with this desire, Bhavolas, and they serve Sri Radhika as her maidservants directly. They love Krishna because Radhika loves Krishna, but their main focus and desire is to please Sri Radhika, the Queen of it. It takes a different twist. We're not quite come to that place yet, but still I just explain this in advance. This statement appears in the Keshavastakam of Stavamala, compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami.
Ara eka gopi prema swabhivaka china ye parakara haye prema kama gandina.
There is another natural symptom of the gopis' love that shows to be without a trace of lust. Text 198.
Gopi prema kara Krishna madhurera pushti madhure badaya prema hana mahatushti.
Translation. The love of the gopis nourishes the sweetness of Lord Krishna. That sweetness in turn increases their love, for they are greatly satisfied. The gopis become so much immersed in that exchange. They become fully satisfied, which is the reason why it becomes so torturous for them when Krishna goes away. They become so blissful in his presence that when he leaves, they reach the same pitch of bliss, but in a separation mood. Is Mohan and Modan. These are, we'll discuss these. Text 199.
Priti Vishayananande tad ashrayananda tanha nahi nija shuka vansha sambandha.
Translation. The happiness of the abode of love, the abodes of love are the gopis, is in the happiness of the object of that love. The object is Krishna. This is not a relationship of desire for personal gratification. Neither is looking for their own personal gratification. Krishna has just proclaimed, we just said, Na paryeham niravadya. He can't repay the gopis for their pure, unrequited love. Even in a day of Lord Brahma, even in a lifetime of Lord Brahma, he can't repay. Text 200, 201.
Nirupadi prema yanha tanha e riti priti vishai suke ashrayera priti nija premanande Krishna sevananda bade e anandar prati bhaktir hoya mahakrode.
Translation. Whenever there is unselfish love, that is its style. The reservoir of love derives pleasure when the lovable object is pleased. When the pleasure of love interferes with the service of Lord Krishna, the devotee becomes angry towards such ecstasy. Purport. As mentioned above, the gopis are the predominated lovers. Predominated. They are the abode of love. And Sri Krishna is the predominator, the beloved. The love of the predominated nourishes the love of the predominator, Krishna. The gopis had no desire for selfish enjoyment. Their feeling of happiness was indirect, for it was dependent on the pleasure of Krishna. Just like Shakti Tattva, like the heat and the fire. The heat is not independent of the fire. The fire is the independent entity, so to speak. Krishna is that independent personality. Swatantrata, Ishamayata. But Shakti, Swarup Shakti, is dependent on that independent personality. And at the same time, they're one. Try to catch these points and think about them. Causeless love of Godhead is always so. Such pure love is possible only when the predominated is made happy by the happiness of the predominator. Such unadulterated love is exemplified when the lover depreciates her happiness in service that hinders her from discharging it. So these moods of ecstasy hinder the discharge of her service. This is going to be described. Text 202.
Angastambarambam utangayantam premanandam Daruka Nabyanandanat Kam Sarapta Vigna Yena Sakshat Aksodyam Antarayo Vyadayi.
Translation. Sri Daruka did not relish his ecstatic feelings of love, for they caused his limbs to become stunned, and thus obstructed his service of fanning Lord Krishna. This is the famous example we always hear. This is the example. Yes, Rupa Goswami. This verse is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 3.2.62. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has made this description, this example, famous. Text 203.
Govinda Preksanakshepi Bashpa Parabhiv Arsinam Ucher Anandat Anandam Aravinda Vilochana.
The lotus-eyed Radharani powerfully condemned the ecstatic love that caused a flow of tears that hindered her sight of Govinda. Very similar to the previous verse of Daruka. Same thing. This verse is also from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.3.54. Text 204.
Arashuddha Bhakta Krishna Prema Seva Vine Sva Sukarta Soklyaradi Nakare Grahane.
Translation. Furthermore, pure devotees never forsake the loving service of Lord Krishna to aspire for their own personal pleasure through the 5 kinds of liberation. Yes, we're completely not looking in that direction. Purport. A pure devotee of Krishna who loves him exclusively will flatly refuse to accept any sort of liberation, beginning from merging with the body of the Lord and extending to the other varieties of liberation, such as equality of form, opulence or abode, and the opulence of living near the Lord. This is going to be described next verse. Text 205.
Madguna Shruti Madrena Maishar Sarva Guhashraye Manogati Avichina Yata Gana Gangambaso Budo.
Translation. Just as the celestial waters of the Ganges flow unobstructed into the ocean, so when my devotees simply hear of me, their minds come to me, who reside in the hearts of all. Krishna is in our heart. He's hearing our prayers. He's hearing these descriptions. If we're meditating deeply, if we're hearing nicely, if we're giving full attention, then this is going to attract Krishna. Just the reading of this Caitanya Caritamrta will attract Krishna. And we'll feel it, we'll sense it. Text 206.
Lakshanam Bhakti Yogasya Nirgunasya Hi Udaritam Ahoitiki Avahita Ya Bhakti Purushottame.
These are the characteristics of transcendental loving service to Purushottam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is causeless and it cannot be obstructed in any way. Just like the Ganges. We've seen the Ganges when it's in full flood. Nothing can stop it. Nothing. If there's a mountain in the middle, it'll just go around it. All obstacles will be easily overcome. And all obstacles will be overcome by meditation on the Supreme Lord.
Salokya Sharsti Sarupya Samipya Tvam Api Uta Diyamanam Nagrananti Vinamat Sevanam Jana.
Translation. My devotees do not accept Salokya, Sharsti, Sarupya, Samipya, or oneness with me, or even if I offer these liberations, in preference to serving me. We have to consider that in our suffering condition, we might sometimes desire this liberation from our suffering condition. but ultimately that liberation will bring nothing like the joy of pulling our minds into savor to Krishna directly. Just remembering that and keeping that focus to bring Krishna pleasure, as the gopis are doing. Everything is about the gopis. Purport. These 3 verses from Srimad Bhagavatam 3.29, 11 to 13 were spoken by Lord Krishna in the form of Kapila Dev. Text 208.
Matsevya pratitam te salokyadi chaturshtayam nechanti sevya punaha kuto nyatkala viplutam.
Translation. My devotees, having fulfilled their desires by serving me, do not accept the 4 kinds of salvation that are easily earned by such service. Why then should they accept any pleasures that are lost in the course of time? Any temporary pleasures? Why should we look for any temporary pleasure? Purport. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 9.4.67 was spoken by the Lord in connection with the characteristics of Maharaj Ambarish. Merging into the existence of the Absolute is as temporary as living in the celestial kingdom. That's very beautiful. The celestial kingdom, we've come to understand, Swagaloka, is that place of Bhoga Yoni, where we go for pleasure, the species of pleasure, Bhoga Yoni. And the lower planets are Papa Yoni, those places of sin. And this planetary system where we are on the earth is Karma Yogi, Karma Yoni. We are the species of incurring karma and fulfilling our karma. But they're all temporary. So merging into the existence of the Absolute is as temporary as living in the celestial kingdom. Both of them are controlled by time. Neither position is permanent. In the higher planets, there is past, present, and future for sure. Their entire existence is much longer. They live for 3 billion and 6 or 9 years. 3 billion and 9 years is the duration of the Devas. 1 Manvantara, 14 Manus in the day of Lord Brahma. You can do the calculation, the math. 209.
Karma ganda hina swabhiva kopi prem nirmala ujvala sudayena dagdahem.
Translation. The natural love of the gopis is devoid of any trace of lust. Therefore, how can we enter this world with a lustful mentality when we're trying to appreciate the lust-less nature of the gopis? It is faultless, bright and pure, like molten gold. Text 210.
Krishnera sahaya guru bandava prayasi gopika khayena priyas shishya saki dasi.
Translation. The gopis are the helpers, teachers, friends, wives, dear disciples, confidants, and serving maids of Lord Krishna. Text 211.
Sahaye gurave shishya bhujisya bandhavasriya satyam vandamite parata gopya kimme bhavantina.
Translation. O Partha, I speak to you the truth. The gopis are my helpers, teachers, disciples, servants, friends, and consorts. I do not know what they are not to me. This is how Krishna feels about the gopis. How could we not be inspired towards Gopi Prem, hearing these feelings from the Supreme Lord himself? He's so much controlled by the Prem of the gopis. Purport. This verse was spoken by Lord Krishna in the Gopi Premamrita. It doesn't say where the Gopi Premamrita is from. Text 212.
Gopi Janena Krishner Maner Vanchita Prema Seva Paripata Ishta Samhita.
Translation: the gopis know Krishna's desires, and they know how to render perfect loving service for his enjoyment, because they're all Kaya Vyuha of Sri Radhika. And if they're so much in love and attracted to Krishna, they will automatically, naturally know what is most pleasing to him. They perform their service expertly for the satisfaction of their beloved. Text 213.
Man Mahatmyam Mats Saparyam Machchittam Man Manogatam Janati Gopika Partha Nanye Janati Tatvataha.
Translation: O Partha, the gopis know my greatness, my loving service, respect for me, and my mentality. Others cannot really know these. Purport: this verse was spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna in the Adi Purana. Text 214.
Se Gopikana Madhya Uttama Radhika Rupe Guna Sobhyakya Prema Sevadika.
Translation: among the gopis, Srimati Radhika is the foremost. She surpasses all in beauty, in good qualities, in good fortune, and above all, in love. Srila Krishna's Kaviraj is not like Shukadev Goswami, where he doesn't mention the name directly. We have to hear about Sri Radhika. She is the queen. She is the principal gopi. She is that highest Sakhi, Atyantika Adhika, Madhya. This is who is Radhika, Atyantika. There's no limit to her greatness. Lalita is Apekshika Adhika. She is, in comparison to Radhika, great. But Radhika is that greatest one. Purport: among all the gopis, Sri Radharani is the most exalted. She is the most beautiful, the most qualified, and above all, the greatest lover of Krishna. Aradhanam. I mean, she has served Krishna the greatest. Text 215.
Yata Radha Priya Vishnos Tasya Kundam Priyam Tata Sarva Gopisho Saivaka Vishnu Atyanta Valabha.
Translation: just as Radha is dear to Lord Krishna, so her bathing place, Radha Kund, is dear to him. She alone is his most beloved of all the gopis. So we've gone from understanding what is Gopi Prem, and now we've come to exclusively focus on Sri Radhika, who is that queen of the gopis. It's very, very systematic the way Srila Krishna's Kaviraj is imparting this divine wisdom, these confidential reasons for Mahaprabhu's advent. These are the confidential reasons for his advent. This verse is from the Padma Purana. That's the purport. Text 2:16.
Trailokya Prithvi Danya Yatra Vrindavanam Pure Tatrapi Gopika Partha Yatra Radha Vidamama.
Translation: O Partha, in all the three planetary systems, this earth is especially fortunate, for on earth is the town of Vrindavan, and there the gopis are especially glorious, because among them is my Srimati Radharani. Purport: this verse, spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, is cited from the Adi Purana. So I'm going to stop here, and we'll continue with our glorification of Sri Radhika tomorrow. So I'm personally just appreciating this remarkable chapter more and more. Many times I've studied this, read this, heard this, spoken this, but every time, just like with any other pure spiritual granta, it's fresh at every moment because it's eternal. These are the most eternal truths that we're hearing, isn't it? So when we hear the eternal truths, our soul reciprocates with that eternality, that timelessness, and our souls can hear sweetly these remarkable pastimes. And then our purpose and object can become very firm, sudrita, nishchaya, our faith. And in our practice, taking Nam, we can focus on these topics of the brilliance of the Gopis' prem, because this is what Mahaprabhu has come to give. He's come to bestow this mercy, the Gopis' prem. And for the Jiva in particular, he's come specifically to bestow Manjari Bhav. And we see the example of this coming from Rupa Manjari, coming from Lavanga Manjari, coming from all our line. They're all Manjaris, every single one of them. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada included. All are Manjaris, no doubt. Otherwise, this is the purpose of Mahaprabhu, this is the objective of Mahaprabhu's message, is to distribute this Manjari Bhav, Svabhakti Shriyam. So we're hearing principally about the Sakhis. It's a build-up. We're coming to Manjari Bhav. It'll be discussed. So Sri Caitanya Caritamrta Ki Jai, Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai, Sri Rupa Goswami Pada Ki Jai, Sanatana Goswami Pada Ki Jai, Jiva Goswami Pada Ki Jai, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami Pada Ki Jai, Raghunath Das Goswami Pada Ki Jai, Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Pada Ki Jai, Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Go Premanandi. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Go Premanandi, Hari Bol. I just want to thank all the powers that be that we had. It seemed an unobstructed live stream just on our mobile data. The tower went down yesterday in Govardhan for all the Wi-Fi in the whole area. But somehow my Gurudev and the mercy of the Vaishnavas allowed this stream to take place today. I think that's miraculous, and I'm very grateful to be able to have that opportunity to speak with you all on these truths. Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Rupanuga Varga Ki Jai, Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Bevacha, Patitanam Pavnebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha.